Do you know the best way to improve the quality of your teeth and prevent cavities? Despite what your dentist may say, it's not actually brushing or flossing your teeth.
What do you mean?
Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't brush your teeth and that it's not helpful, but research done by a dentist named Weston A Price, who traveled the globe to understand what led to the development and maintenance of healthy teeth, found that brushing and flossing were not the main determinants of dental health.
And down, up and down, side, 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 in and out, side, 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 side.
What he found was much more interesting and forgotten by modern day dentists. In fact, during his research, he discovered 10 tribes spanning the globe who had perfect teeth. I'm talking about cultures all the way from the Alaskan Eskimos to the Eastern and Northern African tribes, all the way to the Australian Aborigines and the Maori of New Zealand. All of them with straight teeth, beautiful smiles, and no cavities. So what was it that these tribes did that led them to have nearly perfect teeth? And how can you use this information to make sure that your teeth stay strong, pearly white, and cavity-free? That's what we're about to cover. Now, I do want to give a little background on Weston A. Price. He was a dentist who traveled the globe in the 1930s, and his goal was to find as many tribes as possible with perfect teeth and to figure out what was the cause of them, what contributed to their perfect teeth, and what took away from it with other cultures where they had cavities, crooked teeth, and things like that. And he studied hundreds of groups from really primitive cultures all the way to very modern cultures that incorporated a lot of things that we do today. And what he discovered was that diet was by far the main determinant for dental health. But what he was surprised by, and what's really interesting, is that there was not one specific diet that reigned supreme. Some groups, like the Alaskan Eskimos, ate mainly animal products, whereas other tribes, like in the Swiss Alps, were mostly eating a vegetarian diet, eating meat once a week. But what Dr. Price did find was that there were specific commonalities amongst all these groups, and that is where the magic is. And it is by understanding these principles that we can make informed decisions about our diet, which is going to help promote strong teeth and bones. Because if you think about it, teeth are bones. Teeth are vascularized. They have veins and arteries that run through them, and these veins and arteries deliver nutrients to your teeth, including calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. These are things that can be delivered to your bone and then also can be removed as well. And this is why I view teeth as the window into the quality of your bones, and it's largely controlled by dietary factors. And what Dr. Price has also found is that these dietary practices not only led to healthy teeth and bones, but to amazing overall health. I'm talking about large groups of people who are happy, healthy, and are relatively free of the chronic diseases that plague our modern Western society. So the question is, what are the main takeaways that we can implement? That is what we're going to get into. Number one, all tribes were free of modern foods. They did not eat processed grains, no sugars, no pasteurized milk, and no foods with additives or preservatives in them. This is much more important than it sounds because this is how Dr. Price was able to determine that diet played such an important role in dental health as opposed to genetics. Because when Dr. Price started looking at neighboring tribes that did start to incorporate this more modern diet of processed foods, sugars, white flours, and things like that, he discovered that those were the tribes that had teeth deformities and tooth decay. And in the areas where they maintained their ancestral diet, they had perfect teeth. So if healthy teeth were determined by genetic factors, we would have expected that it didn't matter what type of diet these cultures had, whether they were more ancestral, more modern, they should all have tooth decay, but that's not what we found. So clearly, diet plays a crucial role in dental health. Number two, they prioritized organ meats and bone marrow. Many of the cultures that had access to land animals preferentially ate organ meats as opposed to skeletal muscle, which is pretty much the opposite of what we do today. I mean, just think about it. How many times do you go to a restaurant and see liver on the menu as opposed to a ribeye? These groups also commonly made soups and stews with bone marrow, which is really rich in fat-soluble vitamins and minerals. And the key here is that bone marrow and especially organ meats are extremely nutrient dense when compared to skeletal muscle. So for example, let's just look at the difference between 3 ounces of beef liver as opposed to 3 ounces of steak. Beef liver has 20 times more B12, 35 times the amount of folate, 2 times the amount of B6, 4 times the amount of niacin, 7 times more riboflavin, 2 times more thiamine, 120 times more copper, 2 times the amount of iron, 2 times the amount of phosphorus, and over 2,000 times the amount of vitamin A. So as you can see, when it comes to nutrient density, it's very hard to compete with organ meats. And in case you're concerned, a healthy liver does not store toxins. That's a myth. And the reason why nutrient density is so important is that it's the nutrients in our food that determine the quality of our teeth. We need a lot of minerals like calcium and phosphorus to make sure that our teeth are healthy and strong. We also need vitamin D, which helps us absorb the calcium that we eat within our food. And we also need K2, which is going to help us deposit that calcium onto our teeth and bones. Our food and our food choices are severely lacking in these nutrients, and it's a big reason why we have so many health issues today. We are literally overfed but undernourished. Number 3, many groups prioritized dairy from pasture-raised animals. And the last part was really important. The animals had to be raised on pasture, which means they were eating green grasses like wheat, barley, and rye. Why is grass quality so important? Because food is fabricated soil fertility. The quality of our soil determines the quality of our grasses. And the quality of the grasses that animals eat determine the quality of their meat, their eggs, and their milk. And the quality of their meat, eggs, and milk determine the quality of our health. And this is why it was imperative that these groups got their dairy from animals raised on green pastures. In fact, they found that the highest quality milk always came within the spring and fall, which is when the grasses have the most nutrients. Now, dairy is high in many necessary nutrients, including calcium and K2. And as mentioned earlier, we need calcium for healthy teeth and bones, and we need K2 to deposit that calcium on our teeth and bones. In fact, Dr. Price would commonly give his patients high vitamin butter oil, which contains something he called activator X, which he found helped deposit the calcium on the bones. And later on, we discovered that what he called activator X is actually vitamin K2, which is found in things like butter, egg yolks, liver, and a fermented soybean called natto. And just to save you the trouble, I've had natto before. It's pretty nasty. It's like slimy and it has like a boogery texture to it. I would not recommend it. Number 4, when available, these groups would eat lots of seafood and dried kelp. Any of the groups that live by the ocean would eat lots of seafood, whether that's scaled fish or even shellfish. And the reason why they ate dried kelp is it is a very high source of iodine and copper, iodine being essential for thyroid health. And if you don't get enough iodine, you can get a condition called goiter where your thyroid starts to swell and you can really see it within your neck. So you want to make sure you're getting enough iodine, but also not too much. You can overdo it with iodine. These groups also prioritize things like a small amount of cod liver oil and fish eggs because both of these things are very nutrient dense. And they valued fish eggs so much that they gave them to pregnant women because it helped ensure a healthy pregnancy. And what's so fascinating is that different tribes from all over the world who never spoke to each other all discovered the same thing. Women who ate fish eggs tended to have healthier children. And now we have research backing that up, showing that fish eggs are very high in DHA that is easily absorbed, and this DHA is very important for brain development. Number 5, these groups ate whole grains, vegetables, fruit, and even legumes. The whole grains were ground fresh daily, and they're used to make things like breads and porridge. And the legumes were soaked prior to cooking, and the benefit of that is it helps remove anti-nutrients, things like phytic acid and tannins. And anti-nutrients are things that bind minerals and prevent you from absorbing them. And they ate vegetables year-round. In the summer, they ate them fresh. In the winter, they had stored vegetables that they ate as well. So as you can see, these groups ate both animal and plant products, and it was largely determined by what was available to where they lived. And there were 2 groups that had only small amounts of plant products in their diet. These were the Alaskan Eskimos and the Native Americans in the Rocky Mountain ranges, both of which lived in extremely cold climates where vegetables were not available much of the year. And number 6, they chewed bones and other tough foods. Now, this actually wasn't something that Dr. Price noted as important. It was later discovered by different scientists, including evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman and evolutionist Richard Klein. What they found, which is super fascinating, was that facial development and straight teeth were largely influenced by how much mechanical force we put on our teeth at an early age from chewing. This encourages the proper development of our jaw structure, which influences our facial and teeth development. And as Klein said, he had never seen an early human skull with malocclusion. That is, he never saw a primitive human skull where the teeth did not properly align. Not one. Lieberman has also supported this mechanistic theory, explaining the mechanical forces generated by chewing food not only help your jaws grow to the right size and shape, they also help your teeth fit properly within the jaw. That's why crooked teeth are so common nowadays. Because our modern lifestyle has removed the majority of foods from our children that provide the mechanical force necessary for proper dental development. So putting it all together, what are some of the things that you can do today to improve the quality of your teeth, jaw, and even reverse cavities? Avoid processed foods like white flour and sugar, though you can have small amounts of natural sweeteners like honey and maple syrup. Incorporate organ meats or organ supplements into your diet. Eat grass-fed butter or ghee regularly. Remember that butter is a rich source of vitamin K2, which helps deposit calcium onto bones, including teeth. Incorporate wild-caught seafood and small amounts of dried kelp and cod liver oil into your diet. Dr. Price recommended no more than a teaspoon of cod liver oil a day, as it is a potent source of vitamin A and DHA. Eat vegetables in season. Make sure that your grains are whole grains and ideally freshly ground or stored in the refrigerator shortly after grinding. And if you're going to eat legumes, make sure you soak them and cook them well to remove the anti-nutrients. And finally, make sure that you're chewing tough foods daily, whether that's bones or even mastic gum, and make sure you're doing it with your mouth closed. Chewing a tough gum like mastic or chewing bones is a great way to strengthen your teeth and jaw structure, though it's much more effective the younger you do this. And I do have a specific brand of mastic gum that I tried out that I really like, and I have that in the show notes. And if you'd like to learn more about Dr. Price's work, you can check out his book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, or you can go and research the Weston A Price Foundation, which has some amazing resources. And for a book on teeth and jaw development, I suggest a book called Jaws by Sandra Kahn. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this video.